this is Liz from Liz's Music and Things here, coming at you with another video. This time I'm doing a video on a book that I read for a book club that I'm part of, and it is called And Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. So this book is really, really interesting, and the main characters in this book are Ellie Mack, who's a young girl about 15 years old, her mom Laurel, her sister and her brother, and also her tutor Noelle, who ends up tutoring her in math and that kind of thing. And yeah, so needless to say, one day Ellie goes missing, but she feels like there's a few things that led to that occurrence and things that weren't normally happening or things that were different than usual. So one thing is the fact that she got her boyfriend named Theo, and the fact that she started going out with him. Things changed, and she was struggling a little bit with her math. And then she ended up asking her mom for a tutor. And so she ended up finding a tutor that her mom had found a connection to. A friend of hers had ended up using a tutor named Noelle and had heard great things about this tutor. And so she ends up starting to see this tutor, and she at first is enjoying it, and she's doing better in school. And then all of a sudden she realizes that, that this tutor, she seems really, really creepy. And so she tells her mom she doesn't want to see the tutor anymore, and she feels like things are going to be okay, that, she'll just go to the library, get extra help, do things like that. And she's very excited about doing her GCSEs in school. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this book does take place in the UK, somewhere in Great Britain, that kind of thing. And so again, this, one of the main characters, as I said, is Ellie Mack, and she ends up going missing. Now, when she first goes missing, her mom realizes that, it's been a while, and she told her mom that she was going to the library, and she never got home. And so then she ends up reporting Ellie's disappearance to the police. They end up doing a search, and, this whole book, there's a lot of underlying things that you maybe don't expect right away. But, so it ends up that Ellie had reason to be worried and cautious about her tutor. So Noelle actually did have ulterior motives, and she was not necessarily all what she should have been, or she didn't necessarily have her heart in a good place. So Noelle also, she had been, she always felt like she never had a good relationship with her family. She always felt like she was unwanted, and she wanted to have one good thing in her life. And the only thing that she was looking forward to, or that she really enjoyed, was the relationship that she ended up having with her boyfriend. Now, fast forward a few years after Ellie's disappearance, Ellie's mom, Laurel, ends up meeting the same guy that Noelle was dating. And lo and behold, she doesn't realize the connection at first, right? And so another thing is too, so when Ellie goes missing, the police just seem to think that it was, that she just ran away from home. But nope, she didn't run away from home. She was happy. She liked her friends. She was all excited about school, and she was happy with her boyfriend. And yeah, so she had no reason to run away from home. So what actually happened, though, and spoilers if you haven't read this book, is that Noelle took her and held her captive. And then Noelle asked her to try to come in for a second because she wanted to try to give her something, a worksheet or something like that. And she pulled her in with that, and she said to Noelle, well, if I do come in, I'm not going to stay long. Come on. I got to get home. My mom will be worried about me. And yeah, Noelle goes, yeah, no problem, no worries. Just come in for a few minutes, and if you want a cup of tea, whatever, or snack, I can get you that too, and then you can go home. But needless to say, that's not what happened. So in the end, so what actually ends up happening, instead of Noelle letting her go home, is that she ends up drugging Ellie, and so then Ellie ends up being right out. And then she ends up waking up inside of this room in Noelle's basement. And then, for a while, she gives Ellie a TV and DVD combo. She's able to watch movies, watch TV, have proper food and be able to like go to the washroom and that kind of stuff. And then eventually, Noelle ends up somehow inseminating Ellie with some sperm she bought online. And unbeknownst to Ellie, she ends up doing kind of like an in vitro fertilization kind of thing, but not where she ends up injecting this guy's sperm that she bought off the internet into Ellie. And Ellie only realizes what's happening and that she's now somehow pregnant, but she didn't have sex with the dude. It just happened when she realizes she's not getting her period. And also, too, she felt flutters inside her belly. And of course, for anyone who's ever been pregnant, you know that you feel the baby kicking and you feel flutters or whatever. But all that she knew is that she could feel something inside of her moving, and she didn't know what was going on. She was kind of worried at first. And then, then of course, Noelle says to her, "Oh, don't worry. Everything's okay. This is a good thing." And she ends up telling her about the plan she has, and and that eventually it will all work out and things will be as they're supposed to be. So then what ends up happening is, for a while she ends up feeding her properly and that, but then eventually she barely pays any attention or barely pays any mind. And at first they're looking at baby name books together and, that kind of stuff. Once she knows that she's pregnant and she knows what's going on. But needless to say, Noelle never took Ellie to the hospital. And Ellie gave birth in the little room that she's in. And Noelle had told her boyfriend that she was pregnant and that, but she wouldn't let him see her naked. She wouldn't let him have sex with her or anything like that during the time that supposedly she was pregnant. And Noelle had 2 pregnancies with her boyfriend that didn't end up lasting. She miscarried both of them. And she felt like the only way to keep this guy is if I get pregnant and it'll make our relationship better. But then it didn't make the relationship better. In fact, he wanted to keep the baby but didn't want Noelle. And that just pissed her off even more. And, and then he actually... Eventually, he found out that the baby wasn't his, and it wasn't Noelle's either, and that some young girl named Ellie Mack had the baby. And so it ends up that, he continues raising this little girl on his own. Poppy is what her name is. And of course, Ellie's mom, Laurel, ends up, dating this guy, and then she has no idea, but she notices how much Poppy looks like her daughter, Ellie, that went missing all those years ago. And it ended up that, she kept thinking, oh my gosh, she is striking resemblance. There's something that's got to be crazy. And then she thought about, how old Poppy was and how long her daughter was missing. And then, of course, she kind of keeps thinking, is there any way? Could this be Ellie's baby? Is this really Noelle's baby? Who's the mother? Why on earth does she look so much like my daughter? And, they even go shopping together and everything. And eventually, one day, they're supposed to go for Christmas dinner over at her ex-husband's house with his new wife. And then as she's getting ready, she's trying to give him his gift before they leave. He tells her everything, and he leaves a letter and a video of him talking about what happened and who Poppy really is for her to watch, and then drives off. They have no idea where he's going, but eventually they find out that he ends up shooting himself in the head, because he feels so guilty about what he did and about what he knew about. And also, everyone was wondering where Noelle was. And even her family, they were keeping the house in the family and kept everything as it was in the hopes that maybe Noelle would come back someday. They didn't know what had happened to her. And it ends up that he ends up telling Laurel that that he ended up killing Noelle in anger, but it was also out of defense because he was really worried what was going to happen to him, and that he thought that she was going to clock him and do something to him. But he said, if you want, you can go to the police. This is where she is. Blah blah blah. And you know, of course, and it ended up down the road. You know that with what happened. That Laurel ended up raising Poppy, and she had her heart full again. And so where there was that loss, where there was that longing and that piece of her heart that was missing, it ended up being so much more complete again. And she was so much happier, and Poppy ended up becoming way more, you know, grounded and that kind of thing. And she ended up, you know, getting to be a normal kid again. And you know, as she was growing up from ages, you know, 0 to 9 kind of thing, she was homeschooled and she was never around kids. And then, of course, when she became part of this whole big family with all the Macs, she ended up being around other kids, being around a real family. And, you know, it was really, really interesting and how slowly bits of the puzzle came together throughout the book. I would highly recommend this. I haven't read any other books yet by Lisa Jewell, but I think I might want to try to read some others. I think they may also be interesting reads. Now, out of 10, I give this book maybe like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. And I would definitely say give it a shot if you haven't read any of her books, especially if you haven't read this one. But if you do like a little bit of suspense and a little bit of, you know, ups and downs and like pieces of the puzzle coming together, I would definitely suggest giving it a try. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care. Bye.